been tased, not too bad. Stun gun hurt worse than a taser. Cattle prod hurt way worse than both of them.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So before I did that, we did a few fights with the cattle prods. I went, you know what? I need to know what it feels like before we get into this, and then I get hit with it. So I asked my girlfriend at the time. I said, you got to hit me with this. Like, we have to figure out what this feels like. So I remember laying down on the bed, like face down, and I had her zap me in the calf. No joke, Ryan. I can still feel where she hit me in the belly of my calf. Oh, that's how much they suck.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
It gives you some good incentive to stay moving and get out of the way of the thing too, huh?
It made it very realistic. Yeah. Neither of us wanted to get hit. I think there's some pictures floating around the internet of that somewhere. So yeah, that's how you kind of keep the knife thing realistic. And with knife, I never went to the ground. I always tried to keep my distance, used footwork. Yeah. So no jiu-jitsu there. It was all footwork and trying to slash them and not get slashed.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm a big fan of training with consequences. I think that in jiu-jitsu, we get that naturally because, if you get submitted, if you get choked or armbarred or something like that, that's the consequence. It's like, dude, look, you have to tap. Otherwise, you're either going to go to sleep or you're going to get something broken or hyperextended. And I think that with weapons training like this, I think it sounds crazy to some people, I'm sure, but that's very important. You have to have real consequences if you're training and trying to develop real skills. Like Ryan said, if you're trying to use rubber knives and stuff, it's basically going to become you and your friend running around giggling and poking each other with rubber knives. No, you got me. You're not going to have the same incentive of getting the hell out of the way and managing distance. You're going to take a lot less risks if you know that you're going to get zapped with something like a cattle prod. So it builds the same sort of respect that you would have if someone in real life is trying to come at you with a knife. You're not going to try to, flying armbar somebody when they're coming at you with a knife or whatever craziness you're trying to do. It's going to be a much more conservative kind of, being mobile kind of approach. So I think that's awesome. I think it's great that you guys are doing that. Knives are something that really was a major personal realization that I had in martial arts along the way. The school I first started training at was very self-defense focused, and they did like knife disarms, kind of the classic Gracie combatives, Sure. Knife disarms and things like that. And so I kind of, honestly, I foolishly thought, oh, well, yeah, man, so I know the techniques to use if someone ever attacks me with a knife. And then I happened to visit a school of a friend of mine who's he's like a guru level guy in Atienza Kali. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that branch.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, that was an eye opener. Like I thought like, okay, yeah, I know what to do with like the down block and use the forearm and all this and that. Dude, I realized very quickly, man, like even an untrained maniac swinging around a blade is something that's very, very scary. And he was explaining to me, like, as he's touching me with the dummy knife, he's saying, okay, these are the particular arteries and the particular blood vessels and the particular system of your body that I would have just opened up. And I was like, dude, whoa, like this is another thing, man. So I think it's to just to piggyback on your point. I think going out and finding extra knowledge like that for self-defense is super important, man. Because yeah.
Well, and then the cool thing about Dog Brothers is, I know this is a jiu-jitsu podcast, but
no, dude, we're good, man. This is something we don't get to talk about ever, so this is cool. Go ahead.
And like I said, so we probably got to the point in the podcast where half the people think I'm crazy, and half the people are like, "Oh, this is kind of cool."
Yeah. No, this is awesome.
But with Dog Brothers, it's not only like you could call it sport knife dueling. There's that side of it. We don't like to consider the stick fighting sport, but you can kind of classify it as like it's a sport duel between two people. But then you have, and I'll keep on plugging Mark Denny and Dog Brothers, what's considered the material where he classifies it as die less often.
Nice. I like
so
that.
Yeah. So hopefully with them, it's not self-defense. It's hopefully you die less often knowing this material. And as he says that's how you deal with a crazed chimpanzee with a spike. And that's what you're dealing with someone that has a knife that just wants to just poke you. Yeah. So yeah, there's that aspect of it too, of you can call it knife defense, which adds a whole other level. Wrapping this back around to jiu-jitsu, what I like to do with our classes, which probably more than most schools, is I just throw knives in all the time.
Nice.
Then I go, up, he's dead. Nope, you're dead. See ya. Get off the mat. Next person. Oh, here's a knife. And they try to armbar someone and don't realize the other arm's poking them.
Yeah. So on that note, when you do throw knives into the training, what seems to be the most common thing that most people do, and what things have you seen over time be the most effective on the ground with knives?
Yeah. So your first, I always say the knife is your life. It can either save your life or it can take your life away. It literally is your life if there's a knife involved at all. So, as soon as that becomes involved, that is what you have to focus on. If I can get the knife away from someone and they take my back and they have me in a rear naked choke and I have the knife, I win. If they have me in a triangle choke and I have the knife, I win. I don't care. Okay. If you have me in an arm bar, break my arm bar, I'm stabbing you, I win. So on the other end of things, let's look at that the other way of like the jiu-jitsu mindset. Okay, well, I'm just going to take their back and I'm going to rear naked choke them. Well, now both of your hands are occupied. You can't. You can't focus on just the choke. You can't focus on just the joint lock. You have to focus on the knife. And then once you have the knife, you got to get rid of it. So then in a street situation, the question is, do I get rid of it and throw it and then potentially throw it to a buddy of mine, or it goes to his buddy and I'm getting stabbed again? Or do I try to keep it? Do I want to kill this person? Like you said, is this my drunk uncle? Like, we don't want to kill him. We just want to get this knife away from him. So, so it's neat playing that out in jiu-jitsu class. A lot of people will go for the submission and they won't realize that they're getting stabbed at the same time.